Today's talk, then, Be You More, how authentic self-expression leads to powerful connections, and how we can be that while in relational connection with others. There's 3 parts to my talk. I'm going to define authentic self-expression, and then I'm going to talk about what the barriers are that get in the way of feeling free to authentically express yourself. And the 3rd part of the talk is about staying true to you while nurturing connection with another. So to begin, I want to define authentic self-expression. What is it? Think back to a time when you were a child. You were exploring life, and you were responding to stimuli in an organic way. Before you developed filters, before you learned that there was a right way or a wrong way to be. Can you picture a time in your youth when you respond to someone or something completely natural and by instinct? I remember being in a social setting with my family and a bunch of other adults and kids who I didn't know. And there must have been some part of me that felt safe to be myself, because I walked around hugging everybody I was introduced to. And I remember my mom saying to me later, "You know, Sherry, you don't have to hug every person you meet." And I imagine with that, she was wanting to guide me and to keep me safe. And she knew more about the world than I did. But it still left an impression on me. It left an impression on me that there was some way that I was being in the world that might not be okay. There's some way in which I needed to tailor who I was being in order to fit in and belong. Dr. Gabor Mate is a physician and therapist and author, and he talks globally about trauma. And he says that as mammalian beings, we have 2 primary basic needs: for attachment and for authentic self-expression. And every time our survival instinct will choose belonging and attachment over authentic self-expression. What this means is that we adapt. We adapt to blend in. We adapt. And we learn how to hide and ignore and deny some of our internal feelings and our desires and beliefs if they aren't in sync with what our caregivers expect from us. And if our original way of being is not accepted in the pack, most of us will put on an ill-fitting suit and accept that as normal. And fast forward 10, 20, 30 years, and we end up in a society filled with adults who have become adept at living through these filters of what someone else needed us to be, and we've forgotten who we truly are. Is any of this landing? Can you feel me? The need to be safe trumps the need to be ourselves. Before I move on to part 2 and part 3, I want to share a few words that showed up in my inbox today as if divine guidance from one of my favorite spiritual mentors, Matt Kahn. And this is a phrase from the email today. While children may not comprehend all, they are sensing. It is the role of evolving adults to become more aware of the expanding awareness within themselves and how it ripples out through each child in view. It is an awareness of primal intelligence that deserves to be nurtured instead of judged or shut down. On behalf of each inner child existing in every heart, and in honor of the childhood you courageously survived, let us remember that children are always here teaching us, even as we imagine all the things we are here to teach them. How many of you are already realizing what the barrier to authentic self-expression is? It's what we think others want or need from us. That's actually the barrier. It's that we're assumption-making machines, and we assume and we adapt to what we think we need to be. About how someone else thinks we are supposed to be, and we carry that forward into adulthood. These ideas that our elders had for us, they were forged in their own youth. It's the limitations of our elders' comfort zones based on their own upbringing that restrain us, and can sometimes have us betray our own inherent value system. Generational healing is when one brave soul has the courage to be themselves, even when it isn't the same as how others around them are being. And this is the brave work of authentic self-expression. This notion landed for me when I began studying with Art International. ART, A-R-T, stands for Authentic Relating Training. And they teach a course called The Art of Being Human. And I got to see who I was being in connection with another person who was guided to hold up a mirror and reflect back to me what they saw. Relationships are our greatest teachers. If we were constantly alone, we'd never understand the impact that we have on others around us. We'd have no one to reflect back what they're hearing us say, or how they're seeing us behave, or what feelings arose in them as we shared something about ourselves. And this moves me into part 3. Having defined what authentic relating is and having talked about what the barriers are, how do we maintain our own authentic self-expression in relation to others around us? It's about understanding the impact that we have, how to be relational and authentic at the same time. How many of you at present are currently in a relationship? And how many of you were in a different relationship before this one? Many of us have had multiple primary relationships, and they all ended. And it's like, when you look at how they ended, did you blame the other? Was it something they did wrong that made it not okay to be there anymore? And what did that journey say about you and how you were being? What did you learn about yourself? As I walked in the door today, I noticed on the inside door there's a sign, and I took a picture of it with my phone so I could remember it. And I want it right now. And would anyone be willing to go to the door and read it out loud? It's a single quote on a large piece of paper.
Where you replace, why is this happening to me, with what is this trying to teach me? Everything shifts.
Thank you. And thank you. Everything shifts. I mean, I'm here because I believe in what Dr. Emma Smiley talked about and why she founded this Truth Center back in 1934. Change your thoughts, change your life. And that's really what this talk is all about. It's the narrative that we create for ourselves that becomes the limiting belief. And we have to slow down and build awareness so that we can see it for what it is. Our job is to pay attention. What I've come to understand about this is that our reactions hold the key. It holds the key to information about what matters to us. When I stood here and talked in 2019, I talked about living your values. And the way to determine what matters to you is to pay attention to your reactions. When I feel anger arise in me, or frustration, instead of flipping my lid and pointing fingers and blaming at someone else, I lean into curiosity. What is my reaction trying to tell me? To go on this path of inquiry, I must first be aware of what's happening and be willing to slow down and listen. That's the practice. I'll give you an example of something that happened recently where I got to learn a little bit more about what matters to me. In my communications with Linda about coming here and being asked to speak, I wanted to learn more about the path of ministry work. And the International New Thought Alliance was hosting a conference called Ministering in Love. It was in Savannah, Georgia at the end of October. And I asked her if the Truth Center would be willing to sponsor me to attend this conference. And I wrote a proposal. And I listed some of the things I've done, my credentials, my background, why this was important to me, what the benefits would be of me going, what I was looking for. And much to my delight, they approved the proposal. And I excitedly booked my trip, my airfare, the hotel, I registered for the conference. I've been so giddy about this experience and what it was going to open and bring into my life. And then I found out that the conference got canceled for lack of registration. So I'm sitting with this disappointment, and what I'm noticing is anger and sadness and disappointment. And normally what I would do is I would reach out to all those closest to me and I would gather sympathy. Oh, poor me, look at this thing that's not going to happen. You know, look for counsel, look for some compassion. And I didn't do that. I paused. And I sat with my anger and my frustration and my sadness. And I said, what is this here to show me and to teach me? And underneath anger and any emotion, tension or conflict is always an unmet need. So I asked myself, what need is not getting met because I'm not getting to go to the conference? What values was I holding on to that this conference represented? And I realized that it was the values of connection, expansion, community. That's what I was looking for. My own expansion, building community and creating connection in a field of interest that I'm growing into. So I sat with that. I thought, okay, sure. How can I build connection, community, and expansion without the conference? Do I still have those things available to me? Can I still breathe those things on my own? And I realized that yes, I can. That I can do that. That I'm empowered to do that. I'm in control of whether or not that happens. I'm not victim to some other person's decision about what is or isn't happening. It is actually up to me to meet my own needs of connection, expansion, and community. I get to drive that. I get to decide. And I thought that was something worth sharing. Another one of my mentors, Dr. Susan Campbell, her latest book, her 13th book, is called From Triggered to Tranquil. And this taught me that it's critical to monitor our reactions to stimuli, to learn what our triggers are. We can identify what flips us. We can explore the story that goes with it and trace it back to its origin. And seeing the birthplace of our triggers is such a powerful tool for reprogramming our own narratives. We aren't often angry at the other person. We are uncomfortable about the way they make us feel, and we make that someone else's fault. The option here is to get curious about our own emotions, and that is authentic self-expression in relationship with others. We get to feel exactly what we are feeling. That's authentic expression. And we get to ask the people around us for impact in a way that doesn't blame or criticize. That's authentic relating. It's a mashup of owning the parts that make you unique and sharing it in such a way that doesn't have a negative impact on anyone else. On October 23rd, when I speak again here, I'll be sharing the 5 practices of authentic relating, which are to welcome everything, assume nothing, reveal your experience, own your experience, and honor self, honor other. I hope you'll come back and join me then. Thank you for listening.